Okay, this is a short video to highlight the new LP35 and some of the features that are implemented within it. First and foremost, our MSO has asked that we start to get better at inputting patient demographic information. The LP35 now allows for us to upload a little bit more in the top left corner. It'll save new patient. We can go ahead and click that, and from right here, we're going to try adding first initial and last name. It is just you select it, and then you have a little keypad right here on the touch screen. You can also have the option to use the speed dial and scroll through. It's a little bit slower in my opinion if that's what you do. We want to also upload the birthday as well. I would not worry too much about weight unless you're a paramedic, and then demographic of male or female. To get out of this screen, the touch screen is, like I said, pretty intuitive. You just click on it to both activate it and deactivate it. Some other new features, the printer is no longer located on the bottom of the LifePak, but it's now on top and behind. It's a separate feature to this LifePak that we added. The print button, if a paramedic asks you to print out a strip of the 4-lead, 3-lead, is just this bottom little button right here, and we go ahead and click that. Just like the old LifePak 15, you let it print out for as long as you want, and then when you're ready, you could just go ahead and click the button again, and then you know it's shut off when it's no longer highlighted. A couple other things that are really new to this is how we take a 12-lead. There's no longer a 12-lead button, hard 12-lead button anywhere on the sides, but actually once we have the leads connected and the machine gives you the option for 12-lead, we can go ahead and enter the 12-lead mode right here. 12-lead actually gives us, will usually pop up with a live view, and then there's this little button on the top right corner that says acquire. Once we hit 12-lead, it just shows us now live view of every 12-lead, and where we can go ahead and click various leads to look at them. To actually obtain a true printed out 12-lead, we have to hit this acquire button right here, and then you'll notice that it has the spinning wheel as it's acquiring it. If there's too much noise in the patient, a little warning pops up saying static/noise to try and prompt people to coach their patient of staying still, and then you'll notice that it prints out in the back. It comes out with this screen here. It'll be provider preference if you want to use the printed version or take a second to look on here. There's a couple features where you can measure things out by hitting caliber and then trying to see if things are lining up, and then we can even march things out to see how regular the rhythm is, and if this patient is an AFib or something really funky. And just turn anything off, you just go through and you just click them to deactivate it. 12-lead once again is on the top. I recommend unzipping it a little bit and pulling it away from the machine. And when you're looking at a 12-lead now, it prints out a much longer strip. It shows our view, and then we go into our interval measurements and patient information, and then on the right a small graph of comparisons for ST elevation segments by demographic, things that BLS providers won't have to worry about. And once again, it'll be just another tool in the toolbox for our ALS providers and provider preference. Some key things here: if you want to switch back to live mode of 12-lead, we can just go back into live right here. If you want to go back and view old 12 leads, you hit the 12-lead live button, and then now we can take a look and go back in time and look at any of the 12 leads we took while en route. And from there, you can also print the ones that you've done in the past too. But just remember, if you want to acquire a new 12-lead, you need to go back to the live screen and then hit the acquire button on the right. The final thing that I can see is a little bit different is when you're performing in therapy mode for the LifePak. Down in the bottom right corner, there's a yellow action with a little lightning. We also have the analyze button. So for BLS providers, if you're ever using this LifePak and you need to start CPR, it doesn't have the 1, 2, 3 sequence, but instead we just turn on with the green power button, and then we hit analyze right here. Once you hit analyze, this kicks into the traditional CPR mode with a couple new features of a timer, a quicker prompt, and so on. It's going to analyze, and then it'll prompt you to start doing compressions.
No shock advised. Start CPR.
You see a timer is in the bottom left corner, and it should kick out with a metronome if we decide. You can hit mute or unmute to be able to get that timer to go. and then you just follow your normal CPR algorithm.
3, 2, 1, ventilate.
It does give you prompts
Ventilate.
and some things that you can do to change the prompts for when to ventilate. Down, you have a CV ratio, which is a compression ventilation ratio. You can hit it. So this is if we're just operating with the BVM 30 and 2. If we have an iGel, you can hit 10 to 1, and it'll switch
3,
on the next
2,
CPR
1,
cycle.
ventilate.
You'll notice it says CV change setting does not take effect until next CPR cycle. When a medic gets on scene, and if you're the medic assist and for some reason you're asked to help switch, you can always mute this, and then we can switch into manual defib mode. The timer stays the same. It starts off at 200 joules, and then as a paramedic, you'll be able to take over the code and do your own prompting. As we get to the 15-second count mark, we can now hit charge. It goes through the same charging sequence, and you're going to notice our timer right here switches to positive time. As you can see, there's a little +2, 3, 4. That's saying how long we've been in a pause mode. At this point, we'd say this is a slow PEA, no shock advised, dumping the charge. We still dump the charge through the speed dial, and then the timer now switches back into a normal CPR cycle
Ventilate.
with the timer. It seems to always resume back into the
Ventilate.
prompts. We can always turn those off by just hitting the mute button on the dial. If at any point that we want to get out of our therapy mode and CPR mode, you just hit the home button right here. It's going to prompt you and see, do you want to stop CPR timer? You can hit OK, and then you're back in a normal LifePack mode. The last feature I can really think to highlight is starting our blood pressures. Once again, similar to there being no 12-lead button, the blood pressure is operated on the machine touchscreen itself. You can find it by the touchscreen button or by using the dial. It usually prompts up below the SpO2 and is a gray coloring. We can click that right there, and then right here we can now hit start for our blood pressure, and then there's a little button on the right that gives us the chance for how many minutes between intervals, and then our max that it'll blow up to. Additionally, if someone is asking you to add more views of leads while just in the regular home screen here, we can go ahead and hit either the side grid button, lead select, and then go through and hit the ones that you want to view, and they'll pop up right here. On top of that, we can hit this green button right here, and it gives us our chance to highlight which leads we want to pop up, and then to change our amplitude size down on the bottom. So just like the old LifePack, multiple ways to do things, just introducing the touch screen right here. In our LifePack and how we have it loaded, we have the SpO2 and BP cuff on the left side when you're looking at it. The new end tidal port is no longer on the top with a flap, but a little side switch thing that we can now plug in and screw in. On our right zipper, you'll notice our 4-lead cable is always plugged in. We have our batteries right here that are no longer located on the back, but they're on the side. To eject, you just push this black button right here. And then we have our various cables and our defib patches. 12-lead cables are also stored in here along with the 4-lead, and we also store additional accessory cables that allow us to take posterior leads or right leads. And there is a feature where once we hook in our 12 lead, there's another little box on the side for A's 1 through 3, and we can now plug these in. So if a paramedic's ever prompting a BLS provider to go ahead and add posterior leads or right-sided leads, we can go ahead and do so and then view it on our LifePack.